Well, I'm ready for a cup of coffee and a conversation with some of my guests and friends titled Coffee Chat with Multicultural Seniors on Mid-Autumn and Harvest Cultures. So welcome to Earl Choden, Shanti Singh, and Karen Gall. I don't believe I see Burrow here. I did chat with her and she wasn't feeling well. So anyway, I'm sure we will have a really nice conversation, just the three of us. So please unmute yourself because everybody else will be muted except for you two, the three of you and myself. Anybody else who's on this session is watching right now are most welcome to actually join us with your cup of with a cup of coffee or tea. This is very informal. It's just a conversation. So to begin with, I'm going to ask Karen, because she's so prepared for this conversation that she brought her baked goods that she demonstrated last week how you make them, and she baked them, and it's there on display, and they look so delicious. So I'm going to start with Karen. So Karen, tell me how you celebrate Mid-Autumn or harvest in your culture.
Well, hello everyone. Hi Shanti. Hi Earl. What am I going to say? Okay, so thank you so much for inviting us to be part of this wonderful celebration. Like many other cultures, the Jewish faith has a calendar that is based on the phases of the moon. When there's a new moon, just that little sliver, then a new month begins. And then we make adjustments to ensure that our festivals always fall in the correct seasons. We have several holidays leading up in the fall that lead from one into the next. Rosh Hashanah began last Friday evening, September 18th. Literally, Rosh Hashanah translates as the head of the year, and it's the beginning of our calendar year. And incidentally, we are now in the year 5,721.
Wow.
So Rosh Hashanah begins the 10 days of awe, marking the time from the new year to the end of Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement. It's a time for serious reflection about the year that has passed and about the promise to live a better life in the new year. Yom Kippur is a 25-hour day of fasting. I know they're only 24, but the fast is 25 hours of fasting, prayer, and repentance. And we say that on Rosh Hashanah, the book of life is opened, and at the end of Yom Kippur, the book of life is closed. And we greet people with the wish that their names be written in the book of life for a healthy, good, and prosperous year. Now, I'm going to say, Earl, at any point, if you want to jump in here, because we both are from the Jewish faith. Okay, so 5 days after Yom Kippur is over, we celebrate Sukkot. So that brings us from the new moon at the beginning of the month to the full moon, which would be on the 15th of the month. It's a 7-day harvest festival when we celebrate the success of the summer's crops. We show gratitude for the bountiful harvest, and we share the abundance with family and friends. Basically, it's the Thanksgiving, the Jewish Thanksgiving. We've got lots of names for many of our holidays, and that includes this holiday of Sukkot. Other names include Chag Adonai, which means God's festival, and Hechag, the festival. And this indicates that Sukkot was the most important of the ancient festivals. Sukkot is also called Chag HaAsif, the feast of the ingathering or harvest, as well as Zman Simchatenu, the season of our rejoicing. So for Sukkot, there are so many different elements and rituals and traditions. You know, we're supposed to talk for about 2 minutes now, and then we'll go back and forth. But I can only touch on a few of our rituals and traditions. Families, synagogues, and Jewish community centers around the world will build a sukkah, a temporary hut that represents the structures the Israelites lived in during their 40 years wandering in the desert after leaving slavery in Egypt. Thank you. Earl has a picture of one style of sukkah. So you see it is temporary. Can you hold it up again, Earl? Okay, so you see it's temporary. This one is made out of poles and I think fabric. It's decorated inside usually with fruits and vegetables of the season. And you'll see on the roof has to be open to the sky, where the covering or the schach, the branches that you put on top, shield you from the sun, but also allow you to see the stars in the sky at night. So you can't put a real roof on it. In some climates, people sleep in it, but in our, what have we got there, Earl?
More,
lots of different, so there are lots of different versions. Some are made out of wood or plywood, some are made out of lattice work, and some are made out of fabric. They're supposed to go up, there you go, they're supposed to go up fairly quickly. There should be a table inside so you can take your meals in there and do your, have your daily morning and evening blessings. There you go, all different styles showing how beautiful they are. We're supposed to share the experience with family and friends, and even share the experience with biblical friends. And so you would invite, symbolically invite Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Moses, and the matriarchs, Sarah, Leah, Rachel, and so you invite them into the sukkah and to share your meal with you. An element, I wasn't going to go into, but an element that that we hold 4 species. Earl, can you find a lulav and etrog picture?
Yeah.
There are 4 species that we hold during the prayers and shake them north, south, east, west, up and down to indicate that God is everywhere. The etrog is a citron. It's like a lumpy lemon full of seeds. Some people make marmalade with it when the holiday's over. The lulav is a date palm branch, and there you go, there's the citron. There's the etrog that we hold during our prayers. And then the lulav is a combination of lulav, hadass, and arava, which is date palm branch, myrtle. The date palm branch is tall and thin, and it represents the spine. A hadass, or the myrtle, represents the eye because the leaves are shaped like an eye. And arava, the willow, the leaves are shaped like a mouth. So there are so many traditions.
Thank you, Karen. Are there anything, I know that Earl, you share same culture and tradition as Karen, but you also are quite a globetrotter yourself too. You've been to India and other places. Maybe you can share some of the other, add to what Karen just said, but talk about other cultures and how they celebrate harvest time.
I'm not going to try to do that. I'll just add some to the Jewish tradition. Here in Edmonton, most members of our congregation, Beth Orr congregation, don't build a sukkah in their own house, but the congregation builds the sukkah just outside the synagogue building, and we have various programs there. And then during these 8 days, we have special services to celebrate the harvest, and then the last day of the holiday, the last day of Sukkah, there's a special, interesting, fun ceremony called Simchat Torah. And the Torah is a long scroll where the first 5 books of the Bible have been written out by hand. And we have great respect for the Torah, Jews do, because it's the Word of God. And at Sabbath, the holiday service, and at Sabbath and at each holiday service, we read a portion of the Torah. So it's time so that you get to the end of it at Simchat Torah during Sukkot. So then you get to the end, what are you going to do? So you got to go back to the beginning, and then there's a big holiday, a big celebration where we unroll it. We unroll it. It's very long. It must be a block long if you hold it up, and you show it to yourself, to the congregation, and it's a celebration. People dance and sing, and in some communities there's drinking, and it's a very happy Jewish holiday. And it's called Simchat Torah because that literally means Simchat is happy in Torah, so it's the happiness of the Torah. I can't tell you, certainly in India there are harvest holidays. There's often one holiday called Lori. People build bonfires. I guess I'm not comfortable. I'm a visitor to those cultures, and I'm not comfortable being a resource for them.
Okay, thank you, Earl. Shanti, what about you then?
It's at maximum.
Okay, now it's perfect.
I wonder what's going. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll try again. So go back again. So I said I wasn't born in India. I was born in a little country called Guyana. It's at the tip of South America, and to all religions basically. So in my family, we celebrate everything. Honestly, it's Christmas, and well, in our country, we actually celebrated all religions and all holidays, Muslim holidays and Hindu holidays and Christian holidays. But in Canada, we always get together for Thanksgiving. And there was one festival in November, Diwali, a festival of lights, where even in this country, everybody tries to have all their lights on in their home, because if you were in Guyana or any of these Caribbean countries, there would be little lights in all the windows. But of course, over here, we can't do that. So we have all the lights on in the house everywhere, inside, outside. So basically, that's what we do. But like I said, having grown up in a country where people are open to all religions, so if we were, I say, a Muslim holiday, our friends would send us things, and if it's a Hindu holiday, our families would send. So we got to a point where everybody was very open. We celebrated Christmas. So that's it. And I've learned a lot from Karen, from being on Canadian Multicultural Education Foundation Board. I learned a lot. Well, not a lot, but I've learned quite a bit more about Jewish religion than I ever knew. So it was very interesting, and it was really interesting hearing you guys explain it today.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, you guys, for sharing how you celebrate. So, we've been talking about the Mid-Autumn Festival, how the Chinese celebrate Mid-Autumn. And we're not the only country, China is not only the only country that celebrates Mid-Autumn or harvest time. Other Asian countries do the same as well too, and there are other cultures like in Europe, in Africa, everywhere around the world. This is why we thought that we celebrate with mooncake. We family reunification, family coming together for a dinner. Other ways of celebrating. I mean, symbols of that. You have the bread. You have your shukka. Other things. So we have lanterns, we have mooncakes, we have other things that we do to celebrate. But I think every culture also have their legends or fairy tales or folk tales about their culture as well too. And ours is the Lady on the Moon. and how she, there's a sad story in a way that was tied to it, and how she ended up the moon separate from her husband. Do you, in your culture, do you guys have similar type of stories surrounding, the harvest time mid-autumn?
Well, our stories go back to biblical, to the Old Testament. So it's not so much stories, but traditions that grew up over the years. I will say, Lan, I found it really interesting on the first morning of this celebration, where I can't remember the name of the artist who drew the moon cake. You digitally drew on the moon cake and drew a rabbit on the moon cake. It was fascinating to watch her build the image, and then and the idea that if you look closely, you can see the image of the rabbit in the moon. So I did look at an image of a full moon, a picture of a full moon, and I saw the rabbit. It was Lan, you talked about a moon cake and food. I'll just very quickly talk about our traditional foods. So fruit and vegetables, of course, for the harvest, because we're thanking God for the bountiful harvest. Round food, for example, the challah that we usually make, usually braid, is usually straight, but this is a braided one that I made, a braided circle. And here is another one that I made. This one's more of a coil. And the circle is to represent the continuity of life.
Wow.
So the continuity of life. When you have a braided one, it kind of represents the crown, God's crown, the sovereignty of God. So two different, but the idea of round. Sweet food, such as honey cake, and this one I baked before, but I've gotten into it. So this one was round. Sweet honey cake, apples that will dip in honey, and the sweet.
Hungry.
I know. I've been sitting here looking at all this, thinking, oh, do I pull into it? And so apples and bread that will dip into honey, and that's to wish everybody a sweet new year. And stuffed foods to represent abundance. So inside this challah, I have apples and cinnamon and brown sugar. So that's that. And inside this challah, I have raisins, and that's to represent abundance. So those are some of our traditions, not so much stories, but the symbols, food symbols. Everything's about food, right? In different. Earl, what?
Yeah, our culture is just like that. It's all about food. It's about eating, and I think from what you said too, it's about family. It's about togetherness, and you don't have to be a family, but it's to be together. I think it's all about togetherness, and it's an opportunity for us to come together. And of course, in all cultures, is to come together over food.
Over a meal.
That is the sort of the glue that would bind us together. Or in my case, it's food is what will bring me to your table, because I love food. So,
well, don't we all?
Yeah, and what is the significance of the moon cake? Like Rach and my husband and I were in Singapore in September many, many years ago. And I think it's around that time where moon cakes were in abundance. And it wasn't just one type of moon cake. There are different types of moon cakes. So what's the significance of having moon cake in the September timeframe?
well, it goes back to the folktale, the story about how the lady got to the moon, and Jake, the rabbit, actually, Karen, the Jade rabbit, is her companion. That's why you see the lady on the moon, and she's separate from her husband, who is earthbound. So the moon has a big significance because it's round, and you notice that, and again, it's about reunion, it's about union, and the circle of the the mooncake itself is represented with that. You know, and then Karen talked about, you know, the coil, the eternity. So there's similarity to that as well too. And so the mooncake is made to shape like the moon, representing the moon itself.
They're very good, but very rich.
Yeah.
How do you make a moon cake?
Oh,
Well, we did show a video about how people make mooncakes, but what they make are very new, the more recent type of mooncake. The traditional mooncake is it's seed, what do you call, lotus seed paste, and there will be other types of fillings, and then wrapped in a pastry dough. But
So-
and then they put egg yolk in, salted egg yolk in it. It could be quite heavy. You're not supposed to eat the whole. So the mooncake is about sharing as well too, because it's very heavy and it's very filling. And so what you do is you slice it, you know, thinly, and everybody gets again, it's about sharing your food too, and everybody gets a wedge of it.
Do you traditionally make it or buy it?
I don't make it, but I've seen people starting to make their own mooncakes. It's up to people. I'm not that good at baking, so we would just buy them. And then they come in they you know, they come in different sizes. They could be small or large, and you gift them to people as well too. So during the mooncake time, in fact, I think I got some mooncakes waiting for me, given by the Chinese Citizens Association. They're always been very nice. They would give us some of our board members in the community mooncakes, and they pass them around. And the seniors, a lot of Chinese organizations are very respectful of their seniors, and what they do is they will buy a whole a box of it would have 4 big mooncakes, and they would give it to the seniors as a sign of respect, so to them. And so they would, every organization, when you go to their mid-autumn banquets, you would see them handing out to the seniors and to take home, you know, with them. So normally we don't bake the mooncakes, buy them already baked. Well, in my
some are
case.
made with red bean paste too, right? The red bean.
Yep, they are made with mainly lotus seed paste, and then some have nuts in there.
Yeah.
Soy, almost like soy. I don't like those. I prefer just the smooth lotus seed paste with the egg yolk. So the salted egg yolk. So that's always my favorite. I always save my egg yolk last.
When you
There's certain parts that you eat, and then there's something that you really like and you want to savor at the end, and that the salted egg yolk is my favorite.
So when your organization held the Mid-Autumn Festival in Sir Winston Churchill Square and at the market, right? I think the last time I went was at the market, and they were passing out mooncakes. If you were a senior, you got a free mooncake. So that was where they're delicious. Yeah,
thank you.
I had experienced the mooncakes.
Yeah, we're hoping that we can, it's really an outdoor event, because what happens is the family comes home, they eat, and then they would go out. Traditionally, they go out and they would admire the moon and make wishes on the moon for either a good harvest next year, or else you can wish for business success or health for your family. So the family would go out for a stroll. Of course, it's not as easy here because it would tend to be cold, but in Hong Kong and China, you could do that. And then my favorite memory is when I was young and we would we'll make our own lanterns, and then we'll put a candle in it, and then we will be running around, all the kids will be running around with their eating mooncake and special cookies and running around with their lantern all lit up at night and just chasing each other with it. So
Must be beautiful.
yeah, it turns, and then people were telling stories, you know, in the corner, or you know, do some you know, remembrance of their, you know, other mid-autumn they celebrated. So it becomes and then you have these instant storytelling corners that crops up, you know, and you can sit and listen to the grandparents or the parents talk and chit chat while everybody's savoring the fruit and vegetables that you eat during mid-autumn, as well as the mooncake. Anyway,
Interesting.
so any last comments? Because I believe we are now near the close at this time, and I want to thank you guys for joining me.
It was fun. Thank you.
Anything, maybe you each want to wish everybody a happy mid-autumn
Happy
festival.
Mid-Autumn Festival.
Yeah,
I'm gonna go. I want to go buy some mooncakes. Where would you recommend? Hong Kong Bakery. That's
Will
where-
they have TNT?
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh yeah. Any of the Chinese grocery stores should be carrying them. Yeah.
at this
Yeah.
time of year.
Yeah. This time of year, definitely.
We'll have to
Thanks.
give
I go to the
try.
Hong Kong Bakery, so I'll take a look.
That's great. Okay. Thank you guys.
Okay,
And Karen, when we're off the COVID, I'll be right over eating your baked goods.
I'll bring it to our next meeting that we have in person.
yeah, that's
Yummy.
what
That would
I
be
know.
great.
Looking
Okay.
forward to
Thank you,
that.
everybody.
Okay,
Thank you.
bye-bye.
So thanks, Shanti, Karen, and Earl for joining me for a coffee chat. And so take care, everybody.